What's up, guys and gals, and welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today, I've got something that's kind of hotly awaited for you. We're going to be checking out Testament, Order of the High Human. I've played the game for about 2 or 3 hours, and I think I'm ready to render my first impressions on this little action RPG title. So, if you haven't seen Testament, Order of the High Humans before, what exactly is it? Well, from the 3 hours that I've played, I get the distinct feeling like the developers fired over kind of like this press kit, and in firing over this press kit, it became clear to me that the developers are like a little bit worried that people are going to assume that this is like some kind of Skyrim or some kind of, open world RPG. And that's not actually the case. From the 2 or 3 hours I've played, it's actually something a lot more interesting than that. It's something like an amalgam that you would find nestled somewhere in between Hellblade and like Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. That's actually the feeling that I got from this game. And so ultimately what you've got for yourself in this title is you've got yourself a lightweight action RPG that's set in a semi-linear world where there's like secrets that are hidden on in here, but this game is very much divided up into levels. There's also kind of like a puzzle, platformer, Metroidvania influence on the game as well, because there's going to be certain areas of the map that you just simply can't get to until you have certain spells, certain utilities, like levitation boots or something. The game is going to have like hard areas where it will be like, I don't have the thing that allows me to advance from here right now. I don't want to read books right now. It's kind of early on for reading books in the old YouTubity-doobity videos. Now, this purple stuff over here, you can't walk in it or you die instantly. The game doesn't tell you that, but like, don't walk into the purple stuff. You're gonna regret it. Where was I? Ah, yes, Metroidvania and action platformer influences. The game seems to swap every hour or so between like a big puzzly area and between like a big adventure area. And actually, I found that the pacing was okay. Like, the puzzle area went away right about the time that I felt like it was wearing out its welcome. Let's get rid of some of these goblins over here. That guy's coming over to investigate, so I'm going to get back behind this tree. Maybe we'll be able to take him down with a tad of a bit of stealth. But from there, there's also, not only is there a puzzle platforming thing when you're trying to reclaim the temples of your order, there's also a Metroidvania influence where there are certain areas of each of these maps that you just cannot get into until you have certain utilities, and you're going to find them earlier rather than later. And it's going to become pretty clear that you're supposed to backtrack and replay through previous levels with new utilities, which is where I got the feeling that it has a Metroidvania influence. So we're going to dive on in today for about 25 or 35 minutes. I'm going to try to determine whether or not this game is worth your time. Spoiler alert, I'm having some trouble on that front. This is not a game that is without its flaws, yet simultaneously this game is doing a lot of things that I like, but on top of that, inside the press kit that they sent over, I have no idea what the point of sale is going to be for this game. So I don't know what they're planning on charging you. When they sent over like the press deck, it just says to be determined 3 days before release what price this is going to be sold at. And so unfortunately, I'm going to be a little bit wishy-washy with this video by the time I get to the end in telling you whether or not it's worth it, because I think for me, price point factors in very heavily when it comes to game purchases and whether or not I think they're worth it. There we go. We'll just get rid of him the old-fashioned way. We'll do it straight from the shoulder. And so not knowing what price the game is going to be sold at is going to be, it's going to stifle my decisiveness a little bit. But let's dive on in. If after watching this you wanted to get the game for yourself, there is a link down below in the description. On top of that, if you wanted to hang out with me live and see what I've been getting up to and what I've been getting into, my stream is also listed down below along with my Discord where you're welcome to join me. Stealth that guy down right there. Stealth is incredibly powerful in this game. I suggest that you make use of it. Now, I think the first thing that everybody's going to notice when they dive on into this game is the graphical flarings, and the graphics are done incredibly well. This is a game that is pretty and has some interesting, if somewhat linear level designs, and I've really enjoyed the sort of like high fantasy, low fantasy hybrid thing that they've got going on as you move your way throughout the game. Of all the things that are my observations, I would say that the animations and the actual game itself and the models and the designs and the textures are all done exceptionally well. This is a game that positively oozes almost like AAA energy to it, which is impressive from a small team that definitely does not have a AAA budget. I missed. He didn't even notice that. Okay. Stealth, a little bit OP in this game, if I'm being honest with you. The enemies They have sort of like a lumpy level of perception. Like you can whistle an arrow right past their head, they won't notice. You can shoot a guy that's like 5 feet away from them and they'll be like, what is that? And they'll be stunned for a second and they'll just like see their dead friend on the ground, then go back to their patrol without caring. It's definitely got like that early 2000s style of stealth where the enemies are not possessing of like an enormous IQ. They're not going to be processing the data in front of their eyes very well. Okay. Creepy. Little goblin guy over here. There has been a little bit of a lack, I think, of enemy variety from what I've seen in the first couple hours of the game. I've pretty much fought dogs and like 3 different types of goblin, and then I fought one big orc guy, but he was like a boss, so I don't know if he counts towards enemy variety. There is, in this game, a caps lock mode. I hit tab on accident because I got fat fingers. With the caps lock mode, you can scan enemies, and anything that's in bright green is going to be a weak spot on that enemy. Usually implies that they die instantly if you hit them there with an arrow. That guy's seen it. Maybe you shouldn't shout things like, damn mutts, like while you're trying to stealth, my man. Have you considered that? That might be what's giving you away here and getting you into trouble. But the Witcher site, I guess, tells you what the weak spot is on most of the enemies. That way you can target it with arrows or with other utilities. Let me see if I can take this guy down before he turns around. He almost got me, but we made it through perfectly fine. We'll see what this guy's doing over here. Actually, let's do some melee combat real fast because we've only fought that one guy, and I can show you kind of how melee combat functions in this game. Melee combat in this game is very simple. In fact, I would argue that maybe it's a tad over simple, like it could afford to get a little bit better in a few regards. I personally sort of felt like the combat, when it came to hitting enemies with swords and things, was sort of lacking in weight and feel. Like, I don't feel the clunk and the thunk when I'm hitting enemies from something like a Darktide or like a Vermintide, and that's a problem because I think part of the bias that I'm going to have going into this video against the melee is that I've spent like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours playing the Tide games. And so I have a very high expectation of my first-person melee combat feeling good, feeling visceral, feeling heavy, and feeling like it's got impact to it. And unfortunately, the combat in this game when it comes to melee is pretty wispy. Like, it's not going to feel when you get hit, it's not going to feel like you got clunked, and when you hit enemies, it's not going to have like a satisfying level of like clunk when you hit them either. It is serviceable and it is functional, but one thing that this game sort of slipped up with is that your reach doesn't go as far as perception would expect it to go when fighting with melee.
It's a baby.
It's not a baby. It's a booby trap. It's a baby trap. Yup. See, now they blame baby murder on you, bro.
You have to answer for this.
Did it teleport me? No, it didn't. I thought they were going to use that as a trick to teleport me to a new level. And I think the root, getting back to what I was saying, of why the melee doesn't feel good comes down to 2 things. Weight. And then the second part of why it doesn't feel bad, but it doesn't feel good either. It feels average. There, I'll put it like that. The first factor is weight. The hits feel like they don't really have too much impact to them. The second is your reach doesn't go as far as your eye would think it would, and that's because games like Darktide, the developers have talked about this at length. In games like Darktide, the developers actually purposefully make I was trying to stealth him down, but okay. In Darktide, they purposefully make it so that enemies' weapons and your weapons strike much further in front of themselves than it looks like, because with perspective taken into account, that's the only way to get the attacks feel like they aren't falling short. And so I think this game could actually do with increasing the range of both enemies and the main character's swings by about 10 to 15%. And that would actually make it feel a lot better and eliminate some of that weightless disconnect as well, just as an observation. Oh boy, almost got me right there. Stealth is pretty forgiving in this game. You're going to be able to clear a lot of the areas just by sneaking around, shooting guys with arrows. It looks like I've got full arrows right now, so I might as well put them to use. Enemies are going to drop not loads of loot, but loads of bags that have generic loot in it. This entire game has boiled down pretty much every single pickup inside of it down to these things called Orbs of Creation. And Orbs of Creation kind of tie into the storyline where your character is a demigod that's responsible for the defense of like a given fantasy plane, and you have failed that and you've been reverted down into a mortal, and now you're on a quest to kind of redeem yourself. and ascend back to demigodhood by saving the realm, but you still have some tricks up your sleeve. You can create things out of nothing. So if you have orbs of creation, you can create all these little consumables that are inside my bag right now, and they all have various effects like lighting your sword on fire or putting a magic shield around you, that kind of stuff. You also have magic at your disposal if you've cleared out temples. So if I wanted to, I could cast like a magical shield on myself. Or if there's an enemy over here, I could drain his health and like siphon it out through his eyeballs if I wanted to do so. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes I do want to do so. That's a super rad ability. But the loot in this game is not going to be incredibly varied. Pretty much what you're going to pick up from just about everybody is going to be orbs of creation as loot, with the occasional thing of like quiver of arrows from time. Oh no, I've been seen by the doggy. There is no block in this game, which is kind of odd. There's like this little parry bump thing right here, but I couldn't get it to work, and I still haven't quite mastered it. There's no stamina system, even though some of the fights can be a little bit soulsy as you find bosses and things to square down with. But there's no, like, block in this game, which I also thought was kind of weird, because they've deprived themselves of one of the principal ways that you can make a game feel weighty and heavy. What's this guy doing? Drowned in happiness. Oh, it's just like a little lore blurb. Game does a pretty good job of putting lore blurbs and things in front of you to fill out the world and make you understand what's going on. But as I was saying, block is a really great place to make a combat system feel weighty. Like that watang, you know, when swords strike each other and your character's camera kind of leaning when you block the hit. No block in this game from what I've seen so far. There's this little parry, but I can't get the timing down on it. I tried to, but the game doesn't have a manual save system. So like my initial idea before I recorded this video was like, all right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save right in front of like an easy bad guy, and I'm just gonna let him pound on me until I figure out the timing of the parry. Problem is, game doesn't have a manual save. The game uses a checkpoint system. So whenever I was doing that, I found I had to walk a long way back from like the beginning of the level just to keep like working on the parry. And so I never quite got it down. You guys are just gonna have to forgive me for that. And as far as I could tell, the game really wants you to dodge anyways. The out key allows you to do a dodge slide that has like insanely generous iframes on it. Like seriously, you can't take damage for nothing while you're using your dodge. And so just dodge. I gave up on trying to parry things and I just started focusing on dodging. What's going on over here to the right? Anything too crazy? That's a healing crystal right there. This game has the equivalent of like an Estus flask. In the top left-hand corner, you can see that I have my health, I have my mana, and then I have green crystals and blue crystals. I'm going to give you one guess what the green crystals and the blue crystals do. They refill your health and mana, and in fact, we could probably use a little bit of mana right now. There is no health regeneration, there is no life regeneration. However, the entire map is utterly covered with consumables that make you healthy again, so I haven't really had any problems keeping my health up and keeping myself healthy.
For those sinews makes you mine. Your love for those mortals makes you leave.
I am the immortal king.
Give you power.
My reason of existence is to protect this realm.
Come to us. Aron.
Wait, Freya.
Over here.
Wait. Don't go. Don't leave me.
Huh. Apparently I'm unconscious now.
Raya, you've always saved me from my doubts. Now I've regained my insight.
Oh, apparently we're being introduced to a new tracking mechanic so that we can go find fun things out in the world. They've upgraded my hunter's fizzle vision. The voice acting in this game is kind of hit or miss. It's all over the place. Some of it is over-delivered. I haven't seen any of it under-delivered. If anything, the voice acting is really earnest, if not always incredible. So you can tell that they're really trying super hard. It's just that sometimes the vocal performance is all over the place. Like, people seem to be very, very enthusiastic about getting the storyline across to you. Oh yeah, I was supposed to be following this, right? Oh. Why is the world being all shaky right now? Do I have too much caffeine or something?
What was that?
Damn it! He's turned into a beast.
Won't know who that guy is, but he's not a very nice guy in the storyline. I'm pretty sure he's trying to eat us for our, like, demigod blood or something. I don't know. At the beginning of the game, you wake up inside of his hut, and he gave me really, really weird, bad, you know, middle of the forest crackhead vibes that I was like, maybe we should get out of here. So that's exactly what I did, and he's been hunting me ever since through all the levels. He absolutely decimated all these little halflings over here. They had a terrible day. Bad day to be you guys. He's in a bit of a mood right now. When I'm in a bad mood, I drink too much beer. Uh-oh.
Damn halflings.
Dude, this is the most halflings that I've ever seen on screen at any given time. I don't even know how you get out of the way. I'm just gonna swing my sword wildly and use no strategy whatsoever. I'm gonna do exactly what a wounded animal does when it's cornered, and I'm going to lash out violently at everything different from me. Oh my god, he just threw a shoulder into my tummy, dude. I got tummy shouldered. He broke my shield already. My dodge wasn't up, so I got smacked in the gut again. Oh my god, we're gonna be going through some resources here. Some very serious resources. Okay, ow.
Again?
Never mind. All right, I keep thinking that it's... Oh, there's even more, dude. There's dogs coming in now. I think a situation like this is where the fact that the game doesn't have super intricate melee combat is really gonna come out. This is one of those situations where it starts to feel like the melee combat needs more nuance, and it needs kind of like deflections and things of that nature. Now, given the fact that I haven't unlocked all the utilities in melee yet after a couple of hours, there may be some other things in here that allow you to do some crazier stuff in combat. I know that I saw like a shove inside the talent tree, but aside from that though, big combats like this are kind of like where I think the melee combat's weakness really comes through the most. That's when it feels like the most wispy and it feels the most chaotic. And so, mate, let's try this magic on this guy. That doesn't cause me to regenerate very quickly. Yeah, I think that Booger Beam is probably not going to be the option here. Okay, this guy has red above his head. Enemies in this game have kind of like an internal level that determines how tough they are, going up to purple, with purple guys basically taking no damage and one-shotting you. So this guy is considerably higher level than I am. We should be able to whittle him down without too much trouble. There we go, finally, dude. Got those guys taken care of. I'm gonna have to replenish all my resources here. Scoop up my loot and just like hope that there's a few things around that could have been useful. I suppose I should have dug in and used some more buffs too out of my alchemy bag. Well, we gotta decide if we want to go down into the terrifying cavernous hole in the earth. Although this might be blocked. Yeah, the game doesn't do a super good job. This has happened a couple times throughout the course of the game where there's like a very clear path and like you're like, okay, I'm supposed to go this way. And then when you try to go there, there's just an invisible wall that stops you. Like, that's probably the 5th or the 6th time that I've seen that. And then I'm like, okay, so like, why wouldn't you have like these vines then? After the enemies enter the arena, just have these vines tangle on in so that you can't go that way anymore. You know, because like, me being a secret hound and wanting to find things, I'm going to try to walk down that tunnel right there. And I feel like there's more elegant solutions than just having like a invisible wall right there that you rub your face on. Actually, there was a crystal. Oh, I can't get back up, I don't think. Maybe it'll let me climb back up. I don't know. There is vaulting animations and things in this game. Nope, won't let me back up. I was going to say, there was a green crystal back in that previous area that we think we might have been able to utilize to make ourselves a little bit healthier. I mean, that works too. That's fine. What's going on down this way? Some kind of like, oh, a punji pit. Who doesn't love a good punji pit? No dungeon is complete without sharpened stakes to threaten the thighs, calves, and ankles of the hero. Now, you can wall run in this game. There's also rope climbing, and in fact, I think the ways that they've handled rope climbing and wall running are actually good. So at any time while you're running on a wall or you're climbing on a rope, you can hit the spacebar again, and when you hit the spacebar a second time while wall running or climbing a rope, it'll give you a green circle that allows you to target exactly where you want to mantle to, basically, when you come off the wall or when you come off the rope. That's a really nice feature that I don't know if I've seen in a lot of other games that require the player's traversal. That's a really good feature that I wish would be in every game. I didn't get to show it to you right there because I wasn't thinking about it till after we brought it up. But I liked that. It removed a lot of the ambiguity about, like, how is my character going to come off this wall? How is my character going to come off of this ladder? How is my character going to come off of this rope? And I appreciated that. I get the feeling we're probably headed on into a puzzle zone right about now. Or a boss zone.
Undercity of Vandor.
Or we'll be inside of like a giant, really cool city that's mounted to the sides of a ravine. I dig that. Big dwarf vibes right there. Let's go ahead and climb on down the rope. I actually in this game, I really like the first-person animations. Like, I think if there's one thing the developers knocked out of the park here, it's that the first-person animations are really good. Be careful about jumping off of stuff. There is fall damage in this game. I'm going to answer that question for you. Is there fall damage? Yes, there is. It's not like severe, but it is large enough chip damage when you jump off something tall that it's you don't want to do it repeatedly. Like, it's not going to instantly kill you, but it is going to hit you hard enough to where you'll consider using like a green crystal.
The chosen of truth. They broke the sacred oath to the Seekers, and they were cursed for eternity. From glorious giants that they were, to dim-witted halflings they've come to be.
Alright, well, let me loot my lore thing over here real fast because I've got a side quest to find all of these. I don't know if I found them in the correct order yet, but the game seems to do a pretty good job. It's really confusing when you first start playing this game because you have no idea what's going on, and then after you start putting pieces together and they start introducing characters and whatnot, it becomes a bit more clear. The game still likes to move pretty quick with matters of narrative, but I've got a general idea of what's going on now. Ooh, stuff. Yay. Any more crystals? There we go. That's what I'm talking about. At least now I can get my mana back. Grab that too. Shards of creation. That drop might hurt me. I don't think I want to go for that drop. We'll just climb down this way real fast. There is no armor or anything you're going to be picking up in this game to make yourself stronger. You have this menu right here. So you've got health, you've got spirit force, and you've pretty much got like your shards of creation. There is a skill tree. This is what it looks like. I would make it akin to something like a skill tree you would find in like a Ubisoft game or like a Assassin's Creed game, in the respect that every node that you take here is going to unlock some new feature of your character. So for example, this guy right here will allow you to dash 3 times consecutively. You know, this guy over here gives you the Guardian Palm, which is a heavy attack at the end of a combo. I'll probably take that. That sounds good to me. There we go. So we'll take the attack right there so that we have like a stagger we can hit the enemy with. And then I wanted these little force balls right here. I wanted, like, there's like a little ability that I can go like, like out of my hand and I can shoot like cool magics. Yeah, do life barrage. Nope. Yeah, put Life Barrage in there. Let's see how old Life Barrage works. Hey, I could get just I think it would feel better though, as it looks like they give it like a 2 or a 3 second cooldown before you could cast it again. I would get rid of that entirely. Just let the, I mean, look, I fired it for like 4 seconds and I'm out of mana. Like, just let the player concatenate it and syncopate it how they want to. It would feel a lot better as an ability. Don't want to go that way. But there's not going to be like gear and like breastplates and like things that you're going to find throughout the realm like that. You will occasionally find like a narrative-linked sword or like a narrative-linked bow or something like that. But don't expect this to be the kind of game where you're going to be sifting around to find, you know, 7 different versions of the same sword with different stats on it. Not that kind of RPG. In fact, I would argue that the RPG mechanics here are very much like a backseat to the action mechanics. So since we're getting towards the end of the video here, let me hit you with my thoughts. Testament, the good, the bad, we'll hit it hard and fast. I think I've done an okay job of bringing things up as they were relevant during the gameplay here, but just in case I missed anything, I'm going to go back through my notes and kind of like give it to you straight. And so first and foremost, the lighting, done very well. The animations, done very well. You're going to have to search far and wide to find first-person animations that look good. Like, even little things, like your character interacting or picking up things out of a chest look good. I like the animations. Like I said, they look like AAA animations. The personal ones. The ones for enemies and whatnot get a little bit repetitive. repetitive, but that's a side note. The general theme and design of the game world, it all looks good. The shadows are where they're supposed to be, volumetric lighting, all that stuff is working great. And as you get 3 to 4 hours on into the game, the level layouts start to open up and you start to get some really cool levels like this one right here with the Lost City. This is very professional work when it comes to the visual component of the game, and on my aging system, I didn't have any problems with lag or lose any frames. Good. The sound effects, I think, could afford to be punched up a little bit more in melee combat. In general, things like the bow and the magic, they all sound right where they need to be along with the soundtrack, but I think melee in particular could have been punched up a little bit more when it comes to the hit feedback you get, and that's why it ended up feeling kind of wispy. Load times were a little chunky for me, but only the initial load, and keep in mind that I'm on an older computer now, so I don't have a solid state drive. I do on my other computer in the living room, but this one in my office that I work on, I've been waiting for an upgrade to open up, and so you're going to sit for a little bit of time when you first start up the game, and it loads all the assets if you don't have an SSD. No particular order. Things that I think could have been done better. The voice acting is all over the place. The game seems so excited in the early acts to get you into the lore that it sort of takes every opportunity to throw a lore bomb or like expositional dump at you like you actually know what's going on, and you don't at that point. You're still like a stranger to the universe. Damn. It felt a little stilted and off-putting to me when combined with the fact that you can't skip cutscenes like you're stuck in them. But it's only an issue for like the first level or so. After that, the game actually figures out its pacing and it starts introducing things to you much slower and I think a lot better. So it's just that first level that was kind of a little bit in your face about the storyline. Combat could use a lot more impact, as I mentioned, and I think it could use an extra layer or two of complication to the melee fighting. The combat in this game just seemed kind of simple to me, and they don't let you animation break a lot of the time when it comes to spells or swinging your sword. You can't like dodge out of and into those things, and so there's almost like a little bit of a stutter step, I guess, to it when you want to be dodging and swinging and casting magic on the fly. But by and large, it's all done okay with the combat. Things could be a lot better on the melee front, but it's reasonably well made if somewhat simple. The bows feel good, magic felt punchy, I like the sound effects, I like the spell effects, they did make me feel like a demigod. I think as I said earlier that the ranges on enemy attacks and your attacks in melee should be brought up by 10 to 15% because everybody with respect to perspective feels like their attacks fall short and don't hit when they should. The melee could feel better, but that's probably my hundreds of hours in the Tide games speaking. But my impressions right now are moderately positive. If you're looking for a very lightweight first-person RPG that folds in puzzle solving, platforming, Metroidvania exploration, and opening up side paths once you have the utilities that open those things on up, I keep an eye out for a sale on this one. Since I don't know what they're selling the game at, I'd say the line for me would probably be like 15, 20 bucks, and I feel like this would be a solid purchase where I could forgive the flaws that I've come across. If they come out of the gate swinging and try to sell it for like 40 bucks, nah, I've definitely wait for a sale. This is not a 40-buck game. There's good here, and I think it's a solid attempt for the first game that a team has done, and in fact, they did exceptionally well in some regards, but I'd probably wait for a sale if it goes up at like $40. If it's like 15 bucks or 20 bucks, and you like these sort of Dark Messiah of Might and Magic action RPGs, you'll probably dig it. There's some definite room for improvement with regards to enemy variety and the feel of the melee fights and the voice acting, but it does look great. The textures are fantastic, the first-person animations are top-notch, and in general, I enjoyed the 2 or 3 hours that I spent with the game. Take a look at the options menu real fast just to see if there's anything in here that triggers your eye. It appears to me as though the difficulty is adjustable on the fly. We can also turn off and on the HUD. We can turn off tutorials if we want to. Same thing with subtitles, and you can rescale the subtitles just in case you have vision issues, so that's good. We've got a number of sensitivities that we can play around with over on this side, along with inverting the Y-axis, and of course, keybinds. You can re-keybind everything, I think. Yeah, it looks like you can re-keybind just about everything there, so that's good. Video options, we got a decent spread. They've got some things collapsed into other stuff like post-processing, but the important stuff like motion blur, which honestly, they did motion blur pretty tastefully in this game. I didn't notice it too aggressively. I could kind of notice it if I was moving my head around a lot, but it wasn't too big of a deal. But they've got the main stuff here. What they don't have is the ability for the player to adjust the FOV. So that's one of those things I would like to see added. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so you don't have to. Today we were messing around with Testament, Order of the High Human. Tomorrow it'll be something else. Thank you for sharing your time with me, and I gots to go, beautiful people. Bye-bye.